Welcome to Feminine Power Time. Turn off the chatter and tune in to what matters. Welcome to the place where well-being, leadership, and wisdom meet, where we come to reimagine the way we and the world work. I am Christine O'Reilly, your host, and if you are new here, welcome, welcome. And if you've been around for a while, which I think this is our 9th year going, good to have you back. I am popping in here today in season 8.5. I'm popping in kind of just we're about 3/4 of the way through season 8.5, which for those of you that have been listening know we've dubbed a season of light. And the season of light for all kinds of different reasons, including to give me some space to do what I'm about to share with you all today in today's episode. So today's episode is called Feminine Leadership for Evolving Times. Pause, listen, and co-create. And so what today is about sharing with you a practice, a feminine leadership practice that I have been practicing for I know at least since 2012. I can remember the first time I really practiced this. Pause, listen, co-create for an extended period of time. And the practice is really about giving yourself the space you need to just take elongated pause, to really just take a step back and survey where you are, where you've been, before you just set off on where you're going. It's one of the best practices we can do in times of uncertainty and ambiguity, the hard word to say, ambiguity, and also just in times when the world is doing whatever it's doing and going banana pants and speeding up. The wise ones always slow down. And I've been talking for at least the last year or so how we're about to go into a new 20-year cycle from an astrological perspective, new time cycles on lots of different perspectives. And so instead of just following along with what everyone else is doing, getting caught up in the swirl, responding from your ego, responding from the fear, responding from the past patterns. Like if I could impress one thing as we go into today's episode, it would be, oh my God, please be aware of the unconscious past patterning and imprints that you have made decisions from. And we all have. And as we go forward into this next cycle, please do not make those decisions from the same wounding, from the same shadow patterning. We did a whole series not too long ago, just right before the season of light started, all about illuminating your patterns and seeing them and how to shift them. If you missed that, go back to it. We're going to go into, after this session, the next 3-part series in Season of Light is going to be about catalyzing. This is the time of year we always use the superpower of catalyze and helping you ask some questions and get clear about what's in alignment for you in this next cycle. And so what I'm going to do today is I want to share with you a little bit about where I've been. I don't really have a word for it because it's not really a sabbatical, but it is a sabbatical from certain pieces of my life. It really is actually what we're going to talk about today, which is pause, listen, and co-create, of taking a very specific 3-month, which is a really good amount of time to create, 3 to 4 months, where I've pulled back on certain things and not put my creatrix energy in them. I've not been growing them. I've not been adding new content to them. Instead, I've been putting them onto what we like to call maintenance mode. And maintenance mode is not a bad thing. It is actually a smart, wise thing to do. One of the things that creates the distortion and the burnout and also just keeps us off our path is we keep pouring the same amount of energy into things that we did at the beginning or in the middle or even just coming through a time of intensity. And then we don't say to ourselves, hey, wait a second, I need to kind of downshift and pull back my energy here without like taking my hand off the gas and just ignoring it, because that would be like, we always say maintenance mode is like tending the grass. It's like mowing the lawn. My lawn guy is coming over tomorrow because the grass is getting long, which is creating mosquitoes and other things. And so he's going to come and he's going to mow the lawn. It's going to be lovely. So I'm paying attention to the lawn. I'm not abandoning it. just like I haven't abandoned feminine power time. I hope you all have been really enjoying Jennifer's voice. It's always good. I mean, it's called Feminine Power Time, you all, not the Christine or Rilo show, for a reason. I mean, I have been the host and the guide and the illuminator for many, many years, but Feminine Power Time and all of the things that I've been doing. Gosh, I've been teaching feminine leadership since 2010, feminine wisdom way since 2015, the Feminine Leadership Councils since 2016. I have had a wisdom letter since 2007. I've had a podcast since 2016. And before that, I had a podcast, a different one, in early 2007 for 2 years. I've had a YouTube channel since 2007. I mean, I have been doing a lot of things for a long time. And I'm imagining you have some of those things in your life too. You know, things that you have grown and tended and loved, whether those are human children, whether those are parts of your career, whether those are the things that you have, brought into fruition. It could be anything from a book to a product to a community, to an initiative, to a piece of law, all of the ways in which your gifts and presence have made an impact in small, significant ways and in ones that are more visible. We never use the word bigger in the vocabulary in feminine leadership because, the feminine, she loves all her children the same. And just because one might be president of the United States and the other one might be a mother or father of 5 children and another one might be a leader within a team inside of an organization, we all have value. And each one of us, including you, my dear, have a part to play. And so I also want to say, as we dive into this today, this is 2 things. One, remember the feminine is not just about women. The feminine exists in all of us. We just don't have language for it or understand it. And most of the systems that we see and versions of success have suppressed it, repressed it, depressed it, diminished it, woo-wooed it, and poo-pooed and shoot it. And there's a reason. Because the feminine is freaking powerful. The feminine, when she is aligned, brings in the distorted masculine, roots in her power like a lioness, like a lion, like a beautiful, fierce, I call it fierce grace. And we all have that within us, where we are both actually activated in our feminine and our masculine energies. And that's when we're at our most powerful, our most centered, our most content, and are most wise. And so the world right now is, if you look around at a lot of what's happening and the ways that certain things, whether it's the environment, or it's really with people's bodies, or it's people that don't fit the norm of the heteronormative reality that's been the culture. Some call it the patriarchy. I like to call it the powerarchy. The time's up. Time's up. Time is up. Like, we are evolving. And so what I want to invite you into today is, this is an intention to support your evolution. To support your evolution and to support you having some space. To really tune in to what is right and real for you. To listen to where the momentum is. To listen to what is wanting to shapeshift in your life, to listen to what's ready to fall off, and to let yourself maybe have some of the fear or the feels that go with it. And to also acknowledge the incremental progress of what got you here today. So this is a feminine leadership practice. It's also a personal leadership practice, but it's a leadership practice. And remember, one of the things that everything that we do here, and everything that's true in all of my life, is redefining what leadership is. We say leadership is not a position that's given. It is an embodiment of our own power and our choice to use that power and wisdom in service of the whole and contributing to creating a better world for all, and just doing our part. And we embody our presence through our voices, through our choices, and through our presence, and daring to follow harmonic defiance. Doing things differently to create harmony. So that's what this is dedicated to. If you want to grab a piece of paper and pen, you might want to jot some things down, please do. I'm going to take us through 3 realms. I'm going to take us through the 3 realms here in this practice. One is we're actually going to stop and pause first, and something we do every year in August, which is the first harvest in cyclical living, August 1st-ish. And it also is a time, astrologically speaking, called the Lion's Gate, when the Syrian star system aligns. It goes back all kinds. It is not woo-woo, you all. It is, it might be of the woo if you want it, because it's like, woo, that is powerful. You can check more out. It goes all the way back to ancient Egypt and probably even beyond that. But I always feel like it's a time of elevation and like shaking off, like a lion of some of the stuff you don't need. It's also a time we stop and we acknowledge and look back last year at what actually we were giving our energy to. And it's a time that as we go into this last quarter we start moving towards this last quarter, the last 4 months of the year, really getting clear where we're going to put our energy at this last quarter, because what you put your energy at the last 4 months of the year is what you're going to start harvesting next year. And you can't grow everything. So I've been doing this, we do this every year in the Feminine Wisdom Way and the Feminine Leadership Councils. And I always like to take parts of it and bring it here to the Feminine Power Time podcast. And so that's what we're going to do. I've been doing this myself, and I've been doing with my friends, my clients, etc. And now I'm like, okay, I'm so happy to be here with you all. So let's just take a breath and take a beat and really let that outside world just fall away. And just hear those words: pause, listen, co-create. And slowing it all down. Really am so grateful to be here with you all. And as we go through this process, I'll share with you some of my process that I have been in, so that hopefully it'll be a good example to help you understand how this all works very practically. So number 1 is incremental progress. This is where we're going to start. So I want you to intentionally bring your awareness to where you're standing at right now in time. So we're in August live here of the year, in our cyclical year. We come every year back to August. If you're listening to this at a different time, it's okay. You can always pause, listen, and co-create. And one of the things I want to impress with all of you all, there goes a yellow butterfly flying out in my backyard. That's a good sign. Is that pretty much, I think, for the rest of our lives, we're going to live in intense, changing times. So we just should get used to it. And intense doesn't have to mean bad, you all. I have been in an intense 2.5 months, 2 months, June, July, and even the 3 weeks were intense. And you're like, but Christina, I thought you were on sabbatical. I said, no. Well, yes, I kind of am. I've pulled back, putting energy towards extra creation energy towards the things that I've been doing for the last, 8 to 10 years, and allowing them to continue on as they've been continued. So I can put my energy, and I made this choice last fall, towards the evolution of the next part of my work, which is still all grounded in feminine leadership and feminine wisdom and earth wisdom and yogic wisdom, but it's taking it into a realm that I tried to take it into in 2008, but it just wasn't ready. And many of you know I have my MBA, and I believe that the business world and organizational world has to elevate. It wants to elevate. So I've been doing that work in June and July and August, because last year I really made a decision to go deeper into my teamwork with the Enneagram. I made a decision to really focus on my leader-to-leader work within organizations that would pay for their leaders, mostly all women leaders, and their teams to elevate and get them the support that they needed. I believe that organizations should pay for their leaders to have support. Professional athletes have coaches and advisors. Why shouldn't anyone who is running a part of an organization not have that as well? And so it's been really awesome and amazing. It's been growing and it's happening easily with momentum. And I've been traveling to Seattle and Dallas and all kinds of different places doing this work. And I could do that because we have enough momentum at Feminine Power Time and the Feminine Wisdom Way and the councils. And I have people there that are tending it, like Jennifer tending to this podcast with all of you. And I'm still here with all of you. I listened to last week's podcast, The Feminine Wisdom for Intense Times, on the airplane ride home from Dallas. And so I'm right here with all of you. But I made a choice at the end of last year, like, this is where I'm going to put my energy. And so then I invested in different things, and I invested in relationships, and I've been working that for a year. And now I'm harvesting from that and lots of different ways that are supporting me on the different levels that I need to be supported on, as well as bringing more ease into my life. That's my theme for the year of ease, of embodying ease. And so for you, take a look back, see if you can bring yourself back to last fall. So that would be like August, September, October, November, and December, where you decided to put your energy. And you can think about this, remember, whenever we're doing co-creation and cyclical living and using it to be in co-creation to create the realities that we want and desire, not from some magical thinking vision board, if I just stare at it, it's going to happen. I mean, in the place of really being connected to the intention and essence of what it is that in your heart and body and mind is in alignment with your design. And we don't get to choose the form always, and we don't just always get to choose the timing. But when you're in alignment, that's when you're in co-creation. And so if you look back last year, we always look into these 4 realms. So you could think about your work in the world. You could connect into your well-being. You could connect into your relationships. And then the 4th one is always your own presence and just the things that bring you joy. So I'm just going to focus today on the work in the world and well-being. And you can do this. You could do the other 2 realms if you want to, just because we're doing a mini pause here, a mini check-in. So when we look at, let's just start with the well-being, because we always usually start with our work in the world. And actually, 2 episodes from now, or 2 or 3 episodes from now, we'll be doing one on what happened if you put well-being in the center of your life and your work wrapped around it, which is what I've been doing since 2018, just to give you a sense of how long it takes to make a shift. That's why we always pause every year and look at this incremental progress that we're making. So when you think about your well-being, and think about the end of last year, the fall of last year, what was important to you? Were there any choices that you made, any intentions that you set that said, you know what, I'm going to put my energy here. I'm going to make a shift here. And almost as if you're standing where you're standing right now, August of this year, looking back or to the fall of last year, what were the choices you made? And what were the things you engaged in the realm of your well-being that you are receiving from? This is why August, the beginning of August, is called the first harvest. Equinox, fall, September is the second harvest. And the last harvest is around November 1st every year. This is why there's always like an uptick in energy that starts in mid-August, September, all the way through October, because we're in harvest season. But you want to pause and really acknowledge incremental progress. You should write that word down, incremental progress. Every wisdom tradition teaches incremental progress. It's only the Western world mentality of growth that doesn't ascribe to it, hence the unhealthy banana world. But we're not participating in that consciousness. We're creating from a different consciousness. So what's the incremental progress that you've made in the last year that's happened because of your choices and your energy and your life force in your well-being? It doesn't mean now that everything is where you want it to be, because again, that's not incremental progress. That's in the well-being category. Oh, I took this, got this panacea, I took this drug, I took this, did this diet, all that fast stuff. And I always say when it comes to well-being, usually by the time we wake up and realize our well-being is imbalanced, it's been that way for some time. So it takes time on the linear world to shift it back. And if you can embrace it in cycles, the power of cyclical living, it's like, oh, this last cycle, this last year, this is what shifted for me. This is more embodied in me. This is the mindset shift, the body shift, the heart shift. What's more in place today, even if it's just something that you maintained, or even a piece of clarity you have, or a way you invited more support in, and really giving gratitude to yourself for that and celebrating it and acknowledging it and saying, this actually matters. This is why incremental progress is so powerful in creating the realities as we're living them into being. It's like, oh, they're noticing. Oh, they're noticing. Oh, more of that, please. More of that, please. I sat down today to do to work with the feminine superpower of catalyze, where we ask every year what wants to be catalyzed and what's the support we need while we're catalyzing, which we'll talk more about in the next episode. And one of the things I wrote down for support that I need right now is to lean into my radiance wheel. And that was one of the original episodes we did in Season of Light, and that I also did, I think, 2 years ago for the first time. And I still come back to that radiance wheel again and again and again. And I just had started to notice that I had waned on some of those during the summer as I had more intensity growing in the organizational and leadership and the teamwork that I was doing, because there was a level of like intensity in that. And I was noticing that I was starting to let certain things get on my calendar, that those other things weren't happening. And today, this morning, sitting down with practice of journaling and co-creation and that superpower, I was like, oh, I need like my Pilates, my practitioners, my pottery. I went to the pottery today before doing this podcast. I've been meaning to do this podcast for 2 weeks. I've been thinking about you all. And it would have been very easy for me not to go to pottery and do this first. But I was like, I got to go to pottery. It's Sunday morning. If I don't go to pottery, I can't do this for you all, because I'm not living what I'm teaching. You all know this, and I'll say it again, though. The systems will take everything we give it, even if they're systems you love, your family, your work, whatever, and there'll still be more to give. And so what we do, we use that radiance wheel. We use this like practice of incremental progress, of like looking at what's really working. And then you put those structures into place so that they're there proactively. So I went through my calendar today because I'm pausing to listen, right? Remember, pause, listen, co-create. I was like, oh, I'm stepping into giving more than I'm receiving. And so I, this morning, then made sure that my Pilates was in my calendar for the next 6 weeks. My pottery is in my calendar. I'm taking pottery classes on a Wednesday from 3 to 5, which is also always a good way for me to shift out of the pattern of giving my time and space away. And so how could you do that? How could you, as we're pausing here, just really listening? We're actually kind of doing the 3 steps here just around your well-being, but pausing as we looked at this incremental progress, and pausing and saying, what about that do I want to continue going into the next year with? And you might not know yet. You might have to listen for that. But my double dog dare to you all is to actually put your well-being first. And this is a practice. I'm with you 100%. Myself. Like, it's a practice because there's just so much pull on the outside world for that not to happen. And then we lose our center, and all of a sudden then we end up sick. The physical body is the last place for it to show up. We end up with more anxiety, more frustration. I was like, lost my shit on Noah at least once or maybe 3 times on Friday. And I was like, warning signal. I am in my stress personality. I am frayed at the edges. And it was my warning signal. And this is the thing, you've heard me say it before, but I'll say it again for those of you that might not have heard it. And I was sharing this on Friday. We're doing one of the other things that we're doing right now, which I'm very excited about, is finally the Rise leadership cohorts that are connected to the Work and Overwhelmed and Over It, and helping leaders, in this case 13 women inside of a company, elevate out of the burnout matrix. And so we do it's a 4 to 5 month cohort with 13 women. And I've been working on that, at least it's 2020, and it's finally coming into form. And we were going to be talking that day about knowing your stress personality, and when you go from healthy stress to overwhelmed stress into distress, and know your top 5 sabotaging habits and your top to manage stress, and know your top 5 indicators. So I knew my indicator in that moment, and then use the downshifting practice this weekend of relax, rest, replenish, regenerate. Because even though I'm loving what I'm doing right now so much, and I'm so appreciative that Jennifer's here with all of you so we can maintain this, and Noah's doing the editing on the podcasting and all of these things, I'm sharing this with you all because when you are expanding and elevating and evolving into what's next while also maintaining the now. And likely if you're doing your work on the inside, you're also alchemizing past imprints that you don't need anymore. We were talking on Friday with one of my leadership councils. I was just saying, gosh, I just don't want to create this next, I will not create this next place from struggle. It has to have ease in it. And I'm willing to show up and give effort, but it has to have ease. And so just thinking about that, why I'm sharing all this with you is that this is part of as you evolve and elevate, which is what we're here to do right now, which is why I'm sharing this leadership practice of pause, listen, and co-create. You're also going to be creating the next while stabilizing the now. And then also really also healing and releasing past imprints that you're not going to take with you. We've talked about this a lot. This is the triangle of transformation that I've shared with you all many times. And it's like, that's why it can feel so stretchy when we get right at our edges. And some other people, like you might not go to anger and irritation like I do. You might go to like where Noah goes. He goes to procrastination and he goes to like spending time on things that like, why are you doing that? He's like, I don't know why I'm doing that. He'll just get sucked into everyone else's stuff and not focus on what matters to him. And so we all have different ways of coping. This is why I love the Enneagram so much, because it gets underneath there and helps us understand ourselves and then find the pathway out to a different way. So incremental progress and well-being, tuning in, where are you being called to really focus at, so that come next year at this time, you've evolved, you've elevated, the momentum continues. All right, that's the inquiry. And think of just one thing before we go into I'm going to move us into work in the world here in a moment, and then we're going to go through each step again in a little bit more detail. But just say, okay, this part of my well-being, just take a moment with yourself and just tune in. Really feel in your body, in being, how you've given this energy or created the space and this intention that since the end of last year, and the benefit that you're receiving, the incremental progress that's happening, and see that incremental progress and just beam love at it, like beam gratitude to it. And just be like, yeah, and more, please. What's needed? What do I need? Structure, support, commitment, lightness, rhythm, whatever it is. Then how can I move into action to co-create that? Pause, listen, co-create. All right. So let's move into your work in the world. And let's acknowledge progress. Incremental progress first. So looking back last year, at the end of last year, and where you decided to, or where you were guided to, put your time, energy, etc. What are you harvesting? What has momentum? Where are there things that are happening, that have happened since first fall's harvest, since September's harvest, to now? And just take a pull back to pause and look around. Look around at the changes that happen. Look around at the things that have fallen away. Look around at the choices that you made, things that you stepped into, both expected and unexpected. Just get a little smile on your face over there. Even if it's been a challenging year, this is a moment, these in between the major power pauses of the equinoxes and solstices, they're a moment for us, regardless of whatever's going on in the world, to feel that power, the power of love. And this is not mamby-pamby, hooty-dooty, woo-woo. This is like, I always say, our human bodies need oxygen to breathe, to stay alive. Your heart, your spirit, your soul, it needs love. You need love. I mean, even your physical body needs love, but in your mind too, like their mind works better when your heart feels loved. Your spirit, your mind works better when your spirit feels loved. It's the power of love. And love comes in lots of different varieties. We just don't have any more words in it in the English language. It could be appreciation. It's gratitude. It's even when shit is hard, can we find the smile? Can we find the gratitude? It's the ability to live in paradox instead of being torn apart or getting stuck in polarity. And so look around right now and feel what is more informed, what is more present within you, around you, for you, because of the choices. And maybe there were some choices you didn't make. Maybe you hesitated. Maybe you pulled back. Okay, second chance, coming around again. What do you want to grab onto? And say, okay, I remember you from last year and I didn't step in, but I'm going to step in now. And doing that from a place of compassion and right timing. This just happened for me. I was sitting down doing my mid-year power pause and getting clear on what I was going to focus my life force and energy on in the second half of the year. And I looked back at my end of the year power pause, the one that we do the end of every year. Hopefully you'll join us again this year. And in that process, there's a process where you look at the disappointments. Things, the shorts, we call them, things that you didn't get done that you thought you would. And there, right there, right in my face, it was my website, and not adding in all of the work that I do with teams and organizations is currently not on my website. My Enneagram work isn't on the website. These 4-month cohorts aren't on the website. The work I do with ERGs isn't on the website. The teamwork and team effectiveness I do. And I saw that and I just had a moment. I was like, I just was like, I remember that it was a disappointment at the end of the year, and I still haven't gotten it, still haven't done it. And as I was sitting there, I was like, but wait a second, that's because I've been doing it. No, it's not on my website currently, but I'm doing it. I've been so full of doing it that there wasn't really any time to, sit down and write the website. So maybe it's just not time yet. But maybe I can just grab onto that and bring that back and let me listen. So here's the pause, listen. Let me listen so I can feel into the timing, co-create of when is the time to start to re-engage with that. And through using the power of the practice of conversating, I was talking to my friend Jory, who often helps me with my website. I have a beautiful website team, Jory and Nico and Kelsey. And sometimes some wonderful writers. Jade helped me with my last upgrade when we did all the book pages this year. And she said, I don't think till after equinox. And I was like, I don't think so either. So the co-creation process of reflowing, I'm like, okay, I'll reconnect in with it at equinox and see what it says. So you can do that too with something that maybe you thought you were gonna, put energy to, but you didn't. But you don't want to lose it, right? So you want to listen though with it instead of just saying, okay, now I have to go do it and make it happen. Part of co-creation and why it's the feminine, it's pause, listen, co-create. Feminine is the water. It's intuition. It's sensing. it's feeling, it's rhythm, it's cycle, it's organic growth instead of growth that we make up in our heads. If you look at the way businesses run, see this a lot in the stock market, you see it in retail. You have to make more money than you did last year. That's not organic. And then you make some kind of projection. And then if you don't meet your projection, then you get dinged by it. But that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense at all because they're just projections that humans made based on some assumptions or probably also some distorted desires. And they didn't happen because they weren't in alignment. And if they had actually listened, not just to the ego, but to the overall field and to what was in alignment for that organization and organism, they would have made a more aligned decision. And that's co-creation. And so we do that in our own lives. I'm doing that with Feminine Power Time right now. I'm doing it with the Feminine Wisdom Way right now. I'm doing it with all the things I've created. I'm in listening mode until after equinox on what to do. And so listening is an active thing, and that's what we're gonna move into here in a moment. But first, I want you just to go ahead and take a moment to really feel that incremental progress. What is happening and blooming or sprouting in your life right now, in your work in the world? And again, that can be everything from your career to your job, to your creative expression, to your mothering, to your parenting, to your mentoring. Like really expand your work in the world to your purpose, your mission, your vocation. Just really allow yourself to receive it, to see it. A friend of mine today said, Christine, she's like, how many books did you write again? I was like, 4. She's like, that's something. That's a really big deal. And it was like, I was like Teflon. It's like, I couldn't totally let it in. But I paused to breathe it in. And that's what I'm asking you to do. To feel that incremental progress and say, you know what, that matters. I see it. I feel it. I love it. Yes, more, please. Yes, more, please. Or yes, oh, that's good. Like, I'm good. Like, we could just keep it as it is. We're just going to maintain it. It's good. Just keep it flowing. It's okay to just have things, y'all, that just keep flowing at the same amount. They don't even get any bigger. Maybe incrementally, organically. So what is that for you? And just let yourself feel that. And then look back. What were those choices? What was it inside of you? Was it your commitment? Was it your devotion? Was it, for me, choosing to pull back and move things into maintenance mode and invite in more support and allow people to support me? The shift and why this all was able to grow for me is releasing over self-reliance, which, remember, we did a series on over self-reliance and over responsibility before we started the season of light. So they're internal things that create the external reality to flow and open. Could have been doing trainings, education, all kinds of things. All right. So incremental progress is part of the pausing piece. And then the listening. So let's go to listen here. So we've done pausing. We're going to go on to this listening and co-creating part now. So what do I mean by listening? So when I teach feminine leadership, actually when I do wisdom, I call it wisdom-led leadership when I'm working in organizational spaces, because they just can't handle the word feminine. So it's all good. I'm fine with that. I'm not changing Feminine Power Time. I may create, and I likely will be creating other things that will have a resonance that can be heard and not have any gender things in it that cause people to get stuck. I really feel like what I've been doing always I've been doing, but I have been bringing the feminine into everything I do in the teamwork, in the work I do one-on-one with these women. and the level of connection that's happened, the level of moving out of just needing to be productive and losing their creativity and their femininity and their connection to beauty and meaning and compassion and so many things. But one of the things I work with are these power spectrums. And so they look like kayak paddles. You got one left side and a right side. And so like one of the paddles is listen, this other paddle is act. Another one, you have stillness on the left, and then you have swiftness on the right. And those are, another one is surrender on the left and strategize on the right. And another one is allow on the left and assert on the right. And the left, if you haven't figured it out, is the feminine energy. And on the right is the masculine energy, or it's the yin and the yang, the anima and the animus, the water and the fire. It's just how the world works. And so right now with listening, you all, what that is that's allowing. That's surrendering. That is stillness. It's breath. And so for you right now, what would it serve you? How would it serve you? In what areas of your life would it serve you to give yourself some space to listen? And it's purposeful listening. It's active listening. It's not you just walking around doing your day-to-day. It's about you being connected into source. You being connected into, one of my favorite ways of describing it is Great Spirit, or the Force if we were Jedis, or the divine, or God, whatever your word is for this. It's not about religion. This is the fact that there is a bigger energetic field. And as soon as the scientists call it the quantum field, and everyone's like, oh yeah, the quantum field. And Einstein talked about this. He talked about the mystery. He talked about the invisible. And that's one of the pieces that we really embrace when the feminine is part of leadership, is the invisible. And so for you, for this listening part, where are you being called to listen before just moving into action, before trying to strategize with your head, before asserting? When you slow down and create a space for yourself to listen, to allow, to surrender, which again, remember, is not about just, I don't have a say in this. It's about really tuning into an inviting source, the divine, grace, whatever that is for you, into your life to co-create and say, okay, show me what I can't see. Tuning into what really matters to you in this next cycle as we embark collectively into the next 20 years together. What matters to you? And if you don't want to look, and it's not about what my 20-year plan is, that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is what is at the center of what matters to you in your well-being and your relationships and your presence and impact in the world and the work you want to be doing. And if you don't know that answer, well, you need to listen. You do. You need to pause to listen before, so you can co-create. And some of us don't give ourselves enough space to listen. We just want to get into the action. And that's me. I over-index on the fire side and the masculine side, and Noah's the other way. You over-index on the feminine, the water. He'll get stagnant and stuck, and he'll just go around in circles. Neither work. That's why we do the practice of co-creation and pausing. But first you got to say, okay, listen, what am I listening for? What are some of the deeper inquiries that I have? Like, what are the parts of my life that I want to do some deeper listening? And pick one or two. Pick one or two. I know for me, what is at the center of my well-being is the longevity of my well-being on all realms: body, mind, heart, spirit, and relation, and material foundation. All of those are essential to the longevity of my well-being. And so everything I do, that's where it starts at, because I know that if that is my focus, then I'll be able to serve a lot better and for longer and make even more of an impact in this world without sacrificing myself. And that's what I do. That's what I teach. That's everything I'm doing, is how do we prosper without sacrificing ourselves at a material level or at a soul level. And so just this, let's say like this next part of this next quarter, this next half of the year, wherever we're at, I'm creating a space between now and equinox because I have to make some decisions. And so what decisions might you need to make? And what's the space you can create for yourself? I've been in a 3.5 month space. I don't do that every year, but every year I do at least a month, 40 days, something where I'm just going to wonder about that. So pick a time frame for yourself, time span, 30 days, 40 days, 3 months, 4 months, that you're going to be in wondering and co-creation around to really listen. Now, here's the piece of listening. We listen so we can evolve. And as we evolve, which means in many parts, we're dropping parts that we don't need. And then that allows you to elevate into a higher frequency of being, of living, of working, of seeing. Elevating frequency. Everything is frequency. And so there are parts of you don't need anymore. I was just talking to a beloved who was mentioning she needs to clean out I've had several friends who are like, I got to clean out my basement. I got to get rid of some old stuff. Those are stuff that's not going through with them. We're talking about clearing out mindsets and belief systems. And so what is that for you that you're clearing out so that you can evolve? And when you think about elevating, what are some of those, what is some of the qualities of the frequency? You heard me talking about ease and that is that, like, I know when I'm operating from that elevated frequency, when things have ease. It doesn't mean that I don't give effort and I don't show up and work. Remember, work just means to put effort into a system. But there's an ease. There's an ease to how it happens. And so as you define what that elevated frequency is, and you have some language for it and feeling words for it, and you have some understanding of like what are the parts that as you evolve that are falling away, and then also who and what are you evolving into, right? This is leadership. It's like, oh, I'm evolving. Who do I want to evolve into? Who am I meant to evolve into? And then as you start to bring clarity to that inside of you, what starts to happen is the things around you either fall off, A, B, they shape shift, or C, they have momentum. And the momentum, if you're smart like a river, you get in it and you take it and it takes you. So you don't have to paddle upstream in your kayak with your listen and act and allow and assert and surrender and strategy and all of those, like, then I have like 30 power spectrums that we work with. And so just look around right now and take a look around, and you can write these inquiries down of like, what's naturally falling off? And you can feel it falling off. It's just time. You're ready to evolve past it. It's served its point and we release it. We'll talk more about this next week. So make sure to come back for Catalyze. And we'll talk more about that. Like that literally is falling away. And one of the inquiries that we're working with right now in one of the councils that came out was, what if I just stood still and listened and allowed the things that want to fall off to fall off? Could be relationship, could be stuff, way that you eat, could be work that you do, things you've created, could be mindset shifts, all kinds of things. And in this period of space that you're going to create for yourself, you just watch what naturally falls off. And then 2, what's naturally doesn't want to fall off, but it's saying shapeshift. You don't have to lose me, leave me. I still have value. So what in your life, like we talked about the radiance wheel, my radiance wheel that I made in 2022, still valid. I don't have to go make a new one. But I'm going to shapeshift it for now. Feminine power time, feminine wisdom way. And not falling off, you all. I'm still listening as to what its shape is for its 10th year and 9th year, 9th and 10th year respectively. I don't know yet, but I'm listening. But I know it's shape shifting. And so you can, if you just name that something is shape shifting, it also takes off some of that anxiety and the pressure to have to figure it out. And that then allows the space to come open so you can co-create. So what do you know in your life, whether it's in the well-being or work in the world or relationship or just your own internal presence and expression? It's just, it's shape-shifting. You know it, you feel it, you see it. Take a breath. And just by naming it, you can then be in co-creation with it. My relationship with Noah is shape-shifting. I don't have to be afraid of that. It's shape-shifting so we can both be in our even more glorious, fabulous selves and strengthen our relationship. Teamwork I just did with these 7 really powerful, really very powerful women. The team needed to shapeshift. It had to evolve, or it was not going to go well. And they met that challenge and were able to be vulnerable and came out the other side. And it's not all, figured out in daisies and roses, but we're in an active co-creative field together for the next 6 months plus. And that field, the time span of 6 months is allowing the experimentation to happen. And so you need these time spans. It's like when I work with someone who's deciding what kind of filling into what's their next phase of their career, we create a 4 to 6 month incubator for that. Just did a 7-month one for a group of women this last year, and so many things are coming into alignment for so many of them, but we need that space. You need that space. That's the way the feminine leads. But we're actively getting informed along the way. And then that goes to the last one for today, which is momentum. This one is so important. They're all important because all 3 need to happen. Falling off, shape-shifting, and momentum. Falling off is the releasing. Shape-shifting is the maintaining and sustaining. And the momentum is like, that's where you're going. That's the leading into the new. Where is the momentum taking you? You feel it in your body. You feel it in your being. It's not fully in form. You can feel it in the field. If you're tuning into source in your own inner wisdom, it's like this direction. Go here. You feel it because your energy gets buoyant. It's light. And then your mind comes in and is like, well, how is that? That's probably just going to go away anyway. How's that going to work? I don't know. Like, is this? And then it gets scared and it goes back. Don't go back. Step by step, keep moving forward. This is the time to elevate, to evolve, to cross over into what is next for you. And the Hopi elders said it's so clear. A great river is coming. It's going to be fast and hard and strong. Let go of the shore. If you don't, bad news, because you're going to get banged around. Let go of the shore. Allow yourself to be carried into the middle of the river. Look around for others who are also moving through. And they say this could be a good time. So yeah, you have to keep your wits about you. Yeah, you need to stay centered and sustained. All the things I said in the last podcast, Feminine Wisdom for Intense Times, all of those things. All of those things. If you missed that, go back and listen to that. It's the practice. I am deepening into my own practice. It is so clear that as the world continues to do what it must, we need to come back into our center more than ever. Our morning practice, our downshifting practices, end of the week, like all of these small things that we've been talking about for a decade that I practice, that I share with you all. Like, this is the time to put those into practice, not as more to do, but as a rhythm that holds you so that you can pause and listen and co-create. That's what we're doing in the river. That's why we practice cyclical living. That's why we pause at these 8 times. This is why we follow the moon cycles. This is why we rise to shine on a Monday and have a slow start Monday and then downshift starting on Thursday evening so that we can downshift instead of crash into the weekend. This is why we take 3.5 day spacers every quarter. This is why we do Wednesday space mornings. Like, these practices and then your radiance wheel loves, and then tuning into that intuition, tuning into your inner guidance. The DNA, the direction is inside of you. It's a time capsule. We're coded for this. And we are supported in this. I know this so deeply. And I also know that it's calling for us to let go of things that we may not want to let go of for various reasons that we are probably unconscious to. So being in communication and connection with other conscious humans. I had 3 or 4 Wise Women Teas last month. Spent some good time with friends in Dallas. And it was so great because in speaking to them, I was able to find more of my own truth. But in my own head, even in my own journaling, even in my own meditation, without the conversating, it doesn't come out. So if you don't have that in your life, get that in your life. If you don't have it in your life, come to Feminine Wisdom Way this coming year. We're going to be focused deeply on co-creation. I do know that. Come and just get into community and connection with other conscious beings, and come back to Feminine Power Time, because we'll be here at least. Well, we'll be here. We'll be here. I don't know where we're going after the season of light yet, but we will be here. So, okay. Wow. I'm all hot now. My hands are sweating. I'm sweating. The fierce feminine, she just comes through. She just comes through. Okay. And my hand in my heart, you all, I'm so grateful for you all. I'm so grateful for every single one of you. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being patient with me as I really listen into, what is next for me, and really listening to the things that are hard for me now. And I have to acknowledge, being in email is hard for me. I don't want to use the word hate, but I really don't like sending emails, and I don't have somebody else right now to do that for me. So I haven't been able to send an email out since the beginning of June, to even let people know, I think since I announced the Stay Light series. And so I watched the podcast listener numbers go down because I'm not in the inboxes reminding people, but I got to do what I got to do for myself right now. And I'm I just have to trust. Just have to trust that it'll all work itself out. And so I send you off with trust. I send you off with all the inquiries that I just gave you. And if this podcast helped you, my request is please share this with a friend. It's the best way you can support the wisdom, and also let me know that you're out there and that this is valuable to you. And of course, if you haven't yet left a review, we always appreciate reviews on the podcast. You just go to the show episode and scroll down the full show, scroll down to the bottom, leave the stars, write a review, and most of all, share this with somebody and then talk with them about it. And then come back next time. Jennifer will be here with the feminine superpower of catalyze, which I've been loving right now. So helping you shed the skins that you no longer need going forward. And I will see you all next week, and the week after that, and the week after that, and then we'll see what happens after that. Okay, much love, everyone.